At 2:14 in the morning, his phone lights up in the dark. The room is quiet, except for one small notification. His banking app says he has $14.20. A delivery app says dinner will cost $32.50. For a few seconds, he just stares at both numbers. Then he closes the cart. He throws the phone beside him, and he exhales like someone twice his age. Nothing dramatic happened. No disaster. No giant mistake. Just one ordinary night at 27. That is what makes it scary. Because from the outside, his life looks fine. He has a job. He has a degree. He rents a room in Austin. He answers emails on time. He smiles when people ask how work is going. But inside, one question keeps repeating. If I did everything mostly right, why do I feel behind? That is the quiet pressure of 27. Not young enough to call everything a beginning. Not old enough to feel settled. Old enough to compare yourself with everyone. Young enough to believe you missed some invisible train. He graduated with a marketing degree. He found work at a small tech company. His salary sounds respectable when spoken out loud. $55,000 a year. On paper, that number looks like adulthood. In real life, it becomes rent, food, insurance, gas, debt, and taxes. By the time money arrives, it already has somewhere to go. That is the trap. A paycheck can feel safe for one morning. Then the calendar turns it into a countdown. Rent is due. The card bill is due. The car needs maintenance. A friend's birthday dinner appears in the group chat. A small health charge arrives without warning. Suddenly, the account balance feels temporary again. He is not starving. He is not homeless. He knows other people have it worse. That thought makes him feel guilty for feeling bad. So he tells himself to be grateful. Then he feels ashamed because gratitude does not fix the math. This is where the pressure hides. It hides between looking okay and feeling trapped. At work, the office still uses cheerful words. Growth, efficiency, agility, future ready. But the mood has changed. Intern positions disappeared quietly. Entry-level roles became harder to find. Every beginner job seems to require experience already. Everyone says the market is still moving. But to him, it feels frozen. People are not being fired every day, but new doors are not opening either. Low fire. Low hire. A strange kind of career limbo. He still has a chair. He still has a login. He still has meetings on the calendar. But he no longer feels free. He does not ask for a raise. He does not apply aggressively. He does not take risks. Every headline sounds like a warning. Every friend knows someone rejected by 20 companies. So he stays. Not because he loves the situation, because leaving feels more dangerous than staying. That small fear changes everything. It makes an ordinary Monday feel like a locked room. It makes a vague manager email feel like a threat. It makes an AI tool in the office feel personal. One afternoon, automation replaces a tedious reporting task. Everyone calls it progress. He smiles and says it looks useful. But later, he wonders what else can become useful without him. That thought follows him home. He opens his laptop after dinner. He should learn something. He should update his resume. He should organize his budget. Instead, he scrolls because scrolling feels easier than facing the evidence. The evidence is everywhere. At the grocery store, he notices the prices first. Eggs, milk, chicken, rice, a few vegetables. Nothing luxurious, just food for the week. The cart is not full, but the total still feels rude. He stares at a package of meat. $2 more than he remembers. It is only $2. But when everything is $2 more, nothing feels small. He does the math in his head. Then he chooses a cheaper option, not because he wants it, because the account balance already answered. Outside the store, his phone shows another world. A friend posts from Bali. Another friend takes a picture beside a new car. Someone younger talks about buying property. The images are polished. The captions are calm. Nobody posts the credit card statement. Nobody posts the argument with rent. Nobody posts the fear behind the smile. But his brain compares anyway. This is not simple jealousy. It is a survival alarm wearing modern clothing. The mind sees everyone moving. Then it whispers that standing still means danger. That whisper grows louder at 27. Parents start asking softer but heavier questions. Are you saving? Do you like your job? Do you think you will stay in Austin? The questions may come from love, but love can still feel like pressure without a clean answer. He starts measuring himself by invisible milestones. The apartment he does not own, the savings he does not have, the career path that still feels blurry, the confidence he performs but does not fully believe. Then a strange thought enters. If I cannot win the big game, why play carefully? That thought is dangerous because it sounds logical. He looks at housing prices and feels blocked. He looks at savings calculators and feels mocked. So one night, he buys a $400 speaker. Not because he needs it, because for 2 days, the room feels upgraded. The bass sounds warm. The box looks expensive. For a moment, life feels like it moved forward. Then the credit card balance updates. The feeling disappears. The object remains. This is doom spending. Not simple irresponsibility. Not childish weakness. A short emotional rescue mission. When the future feels impossible, the present becomes louder. If saving $200 feels useless, spending it feels strangely rational. Why deny yourself today if tomorrow already looks locked? That is financial nihilism. It is not always wild. Sometimes it is a delivery order you cannot afford. Sometimes it is another gadget. Sometimes it is refusing to open the banking app. The problem is not one purchase. The pattern is doing the damage. He knows this. That makes it worse. Because knowing does not always create action. Sometimes knowing creates paralysis. He opens budgeting videos. Then a creator his age claims 7 income streams. He opens money advice. Then someone says discipline is all you need. He opens career advice. Then someone says AI will replace anyone average. He opens social media for comfort, and it gives him a scoreboard. Everyone seems richer. Everyone seems faster. Everyone seems more certain. Even the advice starts to feel like judgment. Wake up earlier. Spend less. Work harder. Build a side hustle. Network better. Invest smarter. None of those words are evil. But when they arrive together, they become noise. The noise turns into shame. The shame turns into avoidance. The avoidance turns into more pressure. That loop can last for months. It looks like laziness from the outside. Inside, it feels like a room full of alarms. This is the part people often misunderstand. A stuck person is not always doing nothing because they do not care. Sometimes they care so much that every choice feels loaded. If he checks the bank account, he has to feel the truth. If he updates his resume, he has to admit he wants out. If he asks for more money, he might hear no. If he cuts spending, he might lose the only pleasures left. So the mind chooses temporary fog. Fog feels safer than clarity. But clarity is the only door. The turning point does not arrive as a dramatic speech. It arrives through a group chat. One Friday afternoon, his friend suggests dinner at a nice restaurant. The estimate is $80 per person. Before, he would have said yes. He would have smiled. He would have called it networking. He would have paid with the card and felt sick later. This time, he pauses. His thumb hovers over the screen. The old fear appears immediately. What if they think I'm broke? What if I look cheap? What if I become the difficult friend? Then he types something honest. I'm tightening my budget this week. I cannot do an expensive dinner. Coffee or tacos would work better for me. He almost deletes it. Then he sends it. For a minute, nothing happens. That minute feels like a public trial. Then one friend replies, honestly, thank you for saying it. I'm trying to save too. Another friend agrees. A third suggests a cheaper place. The world does not end. No one removes him from the group. No one writes an essay about his worth. The shame loses a little oxygen. This is loud budgeting. Not bragging about being frugal. Not turning money into a personality. Just speaking limits before silence becomes debt. That small choice mattered. Because secrecy makes pressure heavier. When everyone pretends everything is easy, Everyone pays extra to maintain the lie. But one honest sentence can change the room. It gives other people permission to breathe. It turns budgeting into normal adult communication. He does not become rich that weekend, but he becomes less trapped. That is the beginning of control, not a miracle. A clean boundary. The next step is harder. He has to separate his bank balance from his identity. For months, he treated every low number like a personal verdict. $14 felt like proof. Proof that he was behind. Proof that he had failed. Proof that everyone else understood life better. But a bank balance is not a soul reading. It is information. Sometimes painful information. Sometimes urgent information. But still information. When he stops treating numbers as insults, he can finally use them. He opens the banking app in daylight. Not at 2:14 in the morning. Not while hungry. Not while ashamed. He makes coffee at home. He sits at the small kitchen table. He looks at the last 30 days. At first, it feels awful. Then patterns appear. Delivery charges. Small subscriptions. Convenience fees. Late night purchases. Random upgrades. He does not scream at himself. He marks them gently. Because shame is a terrible accountant. Shame hides receipts. Calm sees patterns. He creates one simple rule. No financial autopsy after midnight. Late night money thoughts are often distorted. They turn every number into a monster. So he checks money during the day, with food in his stomach, with a notebook beside him, with one goal only: see clearly, not fix everything today. Just see clearly. That is a different kind of discipline. Quiet, small, repeatable. Then he takes a break from social media. Not forever. Just 2 weeks. The first days feel weird. His thumb searches for the old doorway. But the silence changes the room. Without constant comparison, life looks less like a race. His apartment is still small. His savings are still modest. His career is still uncertain. But the panic becomes less cinematic. It becomes specific. Specific problems can be handled. A vague life failure cannot. He writes down 3 categories: what I control, what I influence, what I cannot control. Rent prices are not fully in his control. The job market is not fully in his control. Other people's highlight reels are not in his control. But opening the statement is, cooking 3 times a week is, sleeping 7 hours is, learning one skill is, telling friends the truth is, applying carefully is. That list does not solve everything, but it gives his attention a place to stand. He stops trying to become a new person by Monday. He starts building a less chaotic Tuesday. That is more powerful than it sounds. Because most people do not collapse from one giant mistake. They get worn down by small leaks. Sleep leaks. Money leaks. Attention leaks. Confidence leaks. Time leaks. Repairing those leaks is not glamorous. It is not viral. But it changes the pressure inside a life. He begins with food. Not a perfect meal plan. Just fewer emergency orders. He buys groceries with a short list. He cooks simple meals. Rice bowls. Eggs. Chicken. Vegetables. Food stops being only survival. It becomes a small vote for tomorrow. Then he changes sleep. He stops pretending midnight scrolling is rest. It is stimulation wearing pajamas. He sets the phone across the room. Some nights, he still fails. But fewer nights own him completely. With more sleep, the future looks less hostile. The same problems remain. But his nervous system has more room. That room matters. Then he turns towards the thing he feared: AI. For months, he saw it as a shadow in the office. Something coming to erase him. Now he tries a different question. How can this tool make my work harder to replace? He spends 30 minutes a day learning practical uses. Cleaning reports, testing headlines, summarizing research, organizing campaign notes, finding patterns in customer feedback. Not to become a machine, to become a better human with a better tool. That shift changes his posture at work. He stops hiding from the new software. He starts asking smarter questions. He creates a simple dashboard his manager actually uses. No fireworks. No overnight transformation. But one colleague asks how he made it. Then another. Suddenly, the tool that scared him becomes a small advantage. This is not a promise that everything becomes easy. It does not. The economy is still difficult. Housing is still expensive. Entry-level paths still feel narrow. Some companies still treat people like replaceable parts. But the story changes when he stops attacking himself. He is living inside the hard system. That distinction matters. Personal responsibility matters. But it is not the same as personal blame. If the floor is tilted, walking is harder. You still learn balance, but you stop calling yourself defective for slipping. That is maturity. Not pretending the system is fair. Not giving up because it is unfair. Learning how to move without lying to yourself. By the end, his life does not become a fantasy. He does not buy a house. He does not wake up with 6 figures saved. He does not become an internet millionaire. But his room feels different. The speaker is still there. Now it is not a trophy. It is a reminder. A reminder of the night he tried to buy relief. A reminder that comfort is not the same as control. One morning, sunlight enters the kitchen. He makes coffee with the French press. No delivery app. No panic scroll. No dramatic soundtrack. Just warm light, a notebook, and a quieter mind. He writes the day's spending plan. Then he writes one sentence under it. I am not behind my life. I am learning how to live inside it. That sentence does not erase pressure, but it gives pressure a boundary. The crisis of 27 is not really about 27. It is about the moment when the old map stops working. The map that said a degree automatically means security. The map that said a decent job automatically means stability. The map that said adulthood arrives as a clear feeling. For many people, it does not. It arrives as confusion first, then discomfort, then a choice. Keep performing success until the performance becomes debt. Or tell the truth early enough to build something real. He chooses the second path slowly, imperfectly, with setbacks, with awkward conversations, with days when he still compares, with nights when the old fear returns. But now he knows what the fear is. It is not a prophecy. It is a signal. A signal asking for clarity. A signal asking for support. A signal asking for the better system. If you are in that place, the answer is not shame. Shame usually makes people hide. Start smaller. Open the numbers in daylight. Say one honest sentence to someone safe. Cut one leak. Protect 1 hour of sleep. Learn one tool that makes you more useful. Cook one meal that tells your future self you still care. That is not a perfect plan. It is a beginning you can actually repeat. And sometimes, repeating a beginning is how a life comes back. At 27, he thought the zero in his account meant nothing was left. But the zero was not the end of the story. It was the blank space where he finally stopped pretending. And from that blank space, he started again. Not richer overnight. Not fearless. Not magically fixed. Just awake. Just honest. Just ready to take back one small piece of control.